The following is a presentation of The Day.
Thanks so much for joining us on Live Lunch Break on yet another snowy boreal day in New England. My name is Rick Coster. We're streaming from theday.com. And as always, we are in the Telegraph Record Shop, thanks to Rich and Daphne Martin. Today we are privileged to have with us, I don't think we've done something like this before. We have the executive session with us today. This is Skip McKinley and Glenn Hardy over here. And what we're going to do is let them share as they have an ongoing evolutionary experimentation going back centuries through Irish and Scottish folk music all the way up to what's going on in America and roots traditions. Is that fair enough?
Fair enough.
Take it away. And we are so happy that they are with us. This is the executive session.
That was a waltz that was composed by a fellow up in Vermont. His name's Jeremiah McLean, and we kind of took a special liking to that one. It probably because it falls into the category of the crooked music that didn't so much happen maybe in its roots in Scotland and Ireland, but seems as though when things came over here and Appalachia and New England, some of the composers start to add measures and change times, and thus the music took a little detour, and which kind of interests us. So probably most of the things we'll be playing today are a little crooked in one way or another. Thank you. That was another crooked one. Thanks to a fiddle player named J.P. Fraley, who we kind of, I've started to play a lot of fiddle music on the flute, I guess, and Glenn liked it. It's called the Wild Rose of the Mountain, and he was a fiddle player in the 50s from Appalachia, I believe maybe Virginia. But at any rate, another piece that has some twists and turns in it. What are we going to play next here?
Oh, jelly picking coffee.
All right.
It's Irish.
Okay. Four.
If indeed you are eating lunch or sitting in a pub drinking lunch or both, it's hard to imagine more perfect music for what you're doing. This is the executive session. It's Glenn Hardy over here on the piano and Skip McKinley on the flute. Thank you guys for being here today because we haven't had this sort of thing before. So step up. Glenn, pull that microphone over there to you. Skip, I'm going to start with you because the executive session is sort of your brainchild going back a few years. Is that fair to say?
Mm-hmm. Quite a few, yeah, probably a decade or more.
And as I understand it, you came to, I'll just say, Irish and Scottish traditional music fairly young age, and over the course of 4 years, you went from not being able to play a flute to winning competitions, going over there, sort of being a badass. That's the actual technical term for it. So,
Yeah,
how did
that was
that? What
pretty
was
bad.
it about the?
Yeah. The bad is right. Yeah, I don't know about the rest of it, but bad, yeah. Yeah, no, it did. Like many folks, there was a time there where the Irish and Scottish was quite inspirational, and I guess in my case, and for a lot of other folks, those, in the States, those are for kids that played in stage band and got all disgusted with that and put their instrument away, and then they found some music, and I guess in my case it was just Irish and maybe traditional bass, but I mean, same thing happens with jazz, and
Right.
you know, it wasn't structured, and I know Glenn's kind of interested in what happens, you know, and so am I, when you get together and you sort of unstructure things and see what happens.
Fun. You guys, you mentioned in the course of the first set that you like taking the traditional stuff and doing these spin-offs that have come over time. And I like to think, I had read that when you are playing the traditional music, not you, but anybody,
Right.
in Scotland or Ireland, depending on whatever town you're in, there's a distinct flair, sort of a musical DNA, and if you go to the next town over, that changes,
Yeah.
which is sort of suggestive of what you're talking about. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it actually is, and it sort of it points out that actually there's a lot of structure, and
Yeah.
maybe what we're playing is we unstructured it, but the town to town is you know, there's such distinct traditions, both you know, in linguistically, accents and poetry, and the music bears that out, that there's a richness there that varies with the geography, and you know, when you go over there, you go over to be part of that, and then you get, you know, there's a warmth there. It's very great experience to learn the subtleties.
Right.
And they love, you know, the folks that are playing it love that. They're really sharing something with you that you show appreciation for. It's a great thing.
We're talking here on Live Lunch Break with the executive session, Skip McKinley, Glenn Hardy. I'm Rick Coster, and thanks for streaming at theday.com. I grew up in Texas and spent a lot of time in Louisiana, and there's obviously a Mexican influence. There's a lot of Czechoslovakian and Polish immigrants in the hill country that play a traditional sort of folk music. And then you get into the Cajun stuff when you're in Louisiana. I guess where I'm going with this is they have Americanized a lot of it over generations, and you have come, what you guys are doing, as you mentioned, the Appalachian stuff, the New England stuff. What is it that's different about it and compelling that made you guys want to put your own spin on that sort of thing?
Well, the rhythms. I mean, the rhythms are, it's a constant driving rhythm. It's dance music, and people, whenever they hear it, the toes are tapping. It's a little like any kind of music that has that steady beat, like boogie woogie or blues. It's cross-generational and cross-cultural. Everyone likes it. And I come out of a classical background, so
Right.
I kind of had to put the chops to use. And the traditional Irish music, Celtic music doesn't really do that a lot, so I'm violating a lot of the rules here. But I've been doing that for a long time, because in the classical world, if you don't stay with the program, you may be criticized for it. You raise eyebrows if you depart too much from the tradition. But in the old days, the old composers that we have on pedestals, that's what they spent most of their time doing, was departing from tradition. And we don't know that because we've been kind of sold a different bill of goods. But anyway, that's what we like
Right.
about it, is that it's fruit. It's just grist for the mill. It's ready to be messed with.
Well, what's fun is almost by definition of your instrument, Skip, you're carrying the melody on a lot of this, but at the same time, you're recreating parts that were originally done on fiddle. And Glenn, as you go along, I'll notice that sometimes you're strictly carrying the rhythm.
Yeah.
Other times you're using your right hand to do counter melodies, interplay around it. So is that what you guys are talking about? That's what you're doing with it, sort of
Yeah,
making it your
Well,
own.
I like the oompa. I mean, that's
Yeah,
how
yeah.
You got to go. Fall back into oompa. Whether you're playing boogie woogie or it's all blues, Irish music. It's all got to have the beat. And then he picks up on that. I set that for him. And we have a drummer too. And sometimes it's even more pronounced.
And Mance is not with us. If you're watching, Mance, we hope your back feels better.
Feel better.
So-
We
Yes.
miss you.
We do. We'll make sure you get a copy of this concert, man. The piano is an unusual instrument for some of the music as far as the traditions go. in that not so much the instrument, but the way it's played, and you know, like you guys were saying, oftentimes it's thought of as purely a background accompaniment instrument, and we're, you know, being a trio, we don't want to do that. We couldn't afford to do it anyway. So we're constantly trying to bring that, you know, in that process of bringing it into the foreground, and Glenn improvises. It leads to new forms, like you were
Right.
talking about. You know, with the music in Texas and all what that music has been influenced by. It's the same process.
It just seems like you guys are having a blast with it, and it sounds wonderful.
Well, for me, sometimes I have to be careful because I once worked with a bass player, a really fine bass player, who said, you piano players have 10 fingers. You don't have to use expletive, all 10 of them at the same time. And so when I'm doing this stuff, I have to be careful because sometimes I'll start to get a little carried away with a little too busy, and then I think the little voice says, back off a little bit.
It
Give
sounds
somebody
wonderful.
else a chance.
What? So this is an ongoing sort of musical journey and an experiment. Where do you see taking it in the near future? Is that a fair question or a moronic one?
No, it's got to go somewhere. I mean, we're here today, and this is great. Thank you for
Oh, we're glad to have
bringing
you.
us here, because this is important. And we'll be producing another CD. We have some nice tracks down, and
Cool.
you know, we're kind of looking to find places that want us to be there. You know.
Not
and-
pubs, though. That's the problem. We're not a
No.
pub band, you know. We're
Right.
I always like the so
Because you did host a pub night for a while, right?
For 3 years, and that was very that was a fun time.
That was before I came along.
Yeah, that was Fort Glen, right?
Was it caloric beer wise?
Yeah, I would say it was caloric and then other things. So, yeah,
Where can folks see you guys next? Do you have something on the books already?
well, we've just played at the La Grue. We like that
Yep.
place. It's a very nice community center in Stonington.
Right.
And to give them a plug, because they
Sure.
let us use their wonderful grand piano, which
Nice.
is sort of what we thrive on when we have access to it.
Did you sort of try to load it out inconspicuously when you left that night?
Yes.
Just an idea.
Yes.
I don't know.
It's crossed our minds, but but we're looking to schedule
All right.
some things locally. We're trying to stay local and develop, not travel all over.
Right.
So.
Well, hopefully that a lot of folks out here will see this on theday.com, and of course all of our shows are archived, so you can see any of them on theday.com, and hopefully you guys will use that as a tool to get the word out. So we're going to hear some more. This is the executive session, and you're watching Live Lunch Break.
Now that one was part of a group of dance tunes that, as far as I know, comes out of somewhere in England, Great Britain, called rants. That's called Morpeth Rant. Rant is R-A-N-T, and somewhat of a unique group, which maybe has a little bit of a different rhythm than you've all heard, and it was meant to be danced to and still is. Also connected sometimes with the Northumbria and the Northumbrian pipes, that tradition. So, and we've adapted it to piano and flute.
As we are wont to do. Josephine's Waltz.
All right?
Right.
Okay. Just start that. Swedish.
Yes,
Swedish.
it was a
Swedish wall, contemporary band. Vazen, name of the band, and that one is very widely played by all sorts of different, from klezmer groups to so it's kind of crossed all sorts of barriers, so which is great. Now it's crossed ours. What one do you want to play next?
Well, let's do one of yours.
All right. Okay. This is one Glenn and I put together for a friend of mine, and we call it Michael Shorrocks. All right. Why don't you give us an intro?
Yeah. Tremendous. Thank you guys so much. This is Skip McConley, Glenn Hardy, the executive session. We appreciate y'all being on live lunch break. My name is Rick Coster for theday.com. We're streaming from theday.com. All of these episodes are available at theday.com. And as always, we're doing this from the Telegraph Record Shop. In a Home from the Hills, the Hunter context, next week we have former local guys, Quiet Life, all the way back from Portland, Oregon, as they swing for the East Coast. Look for these guys, executive session, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Appreciate it.